Welcome to the family with
Mike Stretch Gelfand.
And Andy Brandt Bernard.
Speaking of Andy Brandt Bernard, boy, did you get a lot of responses to your idea of the game show yesterday.
Oh, yeah?
Have you seen any of them?
I asked the question just before we went to bed, so I haven't read any of them yet.
Jim Wagner, the family with Tom Bernard, grape nuts and any fruit. I don't know what that was an answer to.
Yeah, well, no, grape nuts is, we brought grape nuts up.
Yeah, we did, but I can't
cereal.
Mm-hmm. That's what happens if you take a lot of steroids.
Yes, that's true. Absolutely.
It's a different kind of grape nuts.
Okay, then
less delicious.
Michael commented, love the game. The only thing I would do is take the challenges out of the game. Then
I agree.
Thomas said, this has been such a fun episode. I love this. And then Neil said, loved it. And I would have dominated, LOL.
Mm-hmm.
So if he was involved, he would have dominated. So apparently they really like the game show episodes, Andy.
Yeah, I think it went pretty well.
I'm glad to hear that the people
Just
enjoyed
some
it.
minor stumbles, but, you know.
What do you mean? What minor stumbles?
Getting stuck on challenges for like half an hour.
Yeah, the challenges. Yeah, they might be right. The challenges maybe should go because
we'll get rid of those.
It's too much to deal with. Or
that's where editing comes in.
Editing.
Edit the show down to 15 minutes.
Yeah, that'd be a good idea. That'd be wonderful. Just eliminate all of it. There's no question about it. All right. So what else happened in the world? Anything I should know about this happening in the world that I don't know about yet?
I can't imagine. I
wouldn't imagine. They closed a foundry I used to work in when I was 18 years old.
Oh, that up on the north side?
This one's in, what the hell? Yeah, the one on the north side is a Prospect foundry. I worked there too, actually.
Yeah, because I thought I remembered that, yeah.
Yep, the Prospect, I think it was called Prospect Foundry. If I remember correctly, that's what it was. But foundries apparently pollute like a sumbitch, and that's why they're shutting them down.
Yeah, they haven't come up with a clean foundry yet.
I mean, electric foundries do exist, but it takes a lot of electricity.
So in other words, it's very expensive.
It's energy intensive. I did when I melted metal, I used propane and a hairdryer for oxygen.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
But if you're melting iron or especially steel, you absolutely need coal. Because nothing else really burns hot enough.
Hot enough. That's exactly right. Galfano, I got to run this by you because I did not see this coming. I know they're both Democrats and all the rest of it, but United States Senator Bernie Sanders is going to visit Minnesota this week to support Ilhan Omar. Ilhan Omar is pro-Jew. I've never seen that happen before.
Well, Bernie is a secular humanist, which I think is fine. I would identify with that certainly more than as an Orthodox anything.
No, I understand, but you're not Orthodox, but you're a Jew's Jew.
Well, culturally, yes, that's definitely true.
That's what I'm saying.
It's just not so much the religious thing. We're retreating into orthodoxy at every turn of religion there is. So Bernie's kind of a charming exception to that.
And why is that happening? That's one of the reasons I brought it up. Why do people need to feel safe? I mean, what is it all about?
Well, I think a lot of it probably is the fact that there seems to be a movement in the country where people are yearning for authoritarianism.
Yeah, it seems to be. And that's a very good way to put it. Why is that, though?
Insecurity, fear.
I think people always have to a degree. I mean, it's either the religious authority, the governmental authority, even people like those people who kind of sequester themselves away in academia.
Mm-hmm.
That's a very hierarchical society. Well, so they always have to defer to authority. Authority is nice because it means you don't have to make any decisions.
Yeah.
You just have to be told what to think and what to do, and you do it. And a lot of people like that kind of life.
And we seem to have it, at pretty much every institution seems to be overwhelmed with it. Look, the Supreme Court's a great example. Not that long ago, they were making decisions based on previous decisions. And also, they thought the Constitution was a good place to start.
Mm-hmm.
Now they're going back to you got one nut job there who's quoting something that some philosopher said 1,000 years ago.
What's wrong with that?
Well, it's not quite a precedent as we know it.
Sure.
But the Supreme Court now says that the Constitution is unconstitutional. And this is the kind of power and authority we have at every turn these days. Look at yesterday was a great example. Yesterday was like, you know how Channel 4 has this, and the smiling meteorologist, they have this like 10-star weather day, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yesterday was a 10-star hate day.
What was the hate all about?
Well, first we had the usual political hate, which definitely was in full supply yesterday.
Highest level ever.
Yeah, and then of course we've got what looks like an upcoming nuclear war in the Mideast.
In the Mideast, yep.
So this was I don't think it's a reach to say that it's just not a coincidence. It's hatred, but it's also, remember, it's not limited to our country. It's all over the place.
It is. And what is causing this?
Well, I think the inherent hatred that's built into our DNA, and then of course the money that supports that.
I would agree. It's all about money, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much.
It's just all about. I wouldn't waste 1 minute of my day hating anyone. Why would you want to waste your life hating somebody? There are people I don't like, but I would never hate them. It's a waste of time hating someone.
Sure it is, but people like to waste time.
They certainly do. There's no doubt about it.
I mean, my dad, as you know, was a little Jewish kid growing up in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Yep.
And I can guarantee you the people who hated him then hated him until the day he died.
Yeah, I'm sure that's probably true.
And naturally, my dad felt the same way. Who wouldn't?
And it's all about because of religion, about society. What's it all? Is it about all those things?
Fear, power.
Don't you feel in charge or in power in your own life?
Remember what they chanted in Charlottesville?
No, I don't.
Jews will not replace us.
Jews will not. Who are they replacing?
Well, that's a good question, but the funny thing about it, of course, was that Jews didn't want to replace them.
But why did they? That's exactly what I'm asking.
Well, it goes back to Hitler.
Oh, Jesus. I tell you, it's just why anybody would even, it makes no sense to me.
It's the great replacement theory that led Tucker Carlson to fame and fortune, and then led Fox News to paying out about $1 billion.
Oh yeah, was it $1 billion?
No, it was more than that.
It was more than $1 billion.
Yeah, well, it's around. Well, when you add it all up, it's far more than, yeah.
See, there are two things I cannot do, and those two things are watch Fox or CNN. I can't watch either one of them because it's all bullshit. Yeah. It all leans heavily their own way, and if you don't lean our way, you have no interest, or no reason, and we don't even want you to watch our shows. The things they say on those shows are disgusting.
Well, CNN, I've noticed. I watch Fox a little bit. I watch CNN a little bit. Sometimes I watch the really extreme ones, which are trying to be more extreme than Fox.
Oh, there's somebody more extreme than Fox now?
Oh, yeah. They came along, in the last few years because they thought Fox was sort of mellowing out.
Oh, okay.
And so, yeah, I don't, there's like One America News. There's St. Clair. Yeah. St. Clair's a good one where they all have to read the editorials. And, in like 100 different cities, they're all reading the same editorial. So
it's St. Clair or Sinclair?
I don't know.
I think it's Sinclair.
It's Sinclair.
Well, I know what you're talking about. And I think that, Sinclair Broadcasting.
Yeah.
They own a bunch of different local news stations. And they just give them scripts to read.
Yeah. Let me ask you a question very quickly. Wasn't Sinclair originally a religious organization?
It was originally a gas station.
Well, I know the Sinclair gas station. You're absolutely right.
It was originally a rich family.
But I think it was very religious, wasn't it? So
I think it was.
Sinclair Broadcasting. Let's see. Sinclair Broadcast Group.
A bunch of religious stations back in the old days, I think.
Well, right now it owns 193 stations.
Yeah, because they went on to that spree of buying local.
Yes.
Well, usually it was like UHF stations.
Well, it's like everything else. Everything's owned by some hedge fund now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
There's no such thing as independent media, and there hasn't been for a long time.
Yeah.
So I have a question.
Their roots date back to the 1950s. Julian Sinclair Smith formed a thingy. They did some stuff doesn't appear to be particularly religious.
I used to be, though, I think. I don't know. Like I said, I don't know what the hell. And I will never understand why you would use religion or someone's faith either to support them or turn against them. I don't really understand why you would do that.
There's a lot of history, though.
A lot of history.
I mean, that's pretty much the defining feature of religion throughout history.
And war.
War. So I have a question for you. Is it because the average human being is so stupid?
Well, I mean, it depends on how you look at it. It's like a lot of evangelical Christians think of evangelizing as a positive thing because they're saving people, whereas some people think that it's a hateful, judgy thing.
And the old, you go back to the primitive forms of religion in this country, the Chautauqua tents, for example.
Yeah.
And you had the can't happen here clergy.
Oh, yeah, right.
And that was just about money.
It's about money. Yeah.
It really was not about religion at all.
Jesus. That's what politics are. Politics are all money now. It's all about money.
Well, it's you can't do it without money, but not since the Citizens United thing.
But do you really think somebody needs $250 million to run for president? Jesus.
Well, yeah, these days.
God.
Well, you got to have more money than the other guy.
Yeah, I guess. I suppose. I don't know. I've reached a point. I have no one to vote for. I got nobody. I don't know. I have no idea who the hell I would even vote for at this juncture. And I'm only got 3 months to go.
Like about 98 days, I think.
98 days is what it is. Yeah.
It's just over 3 months.
I mean, I don't want to vote for either of these people.
You vote for both?
Yeah, I could vote for
Fill
both.
in both
cancel
circles
out
and see what they do.
I can cancel my own vote.
Split ticket.
Yeah, I don't like these people. They're mean, vicious, not very bright, either one of them.
I saw a debate between Obama and Romney, and they were like joking with each other,
right?
Talking about like, that was a great policy you did there, buddy.
Yeah, I know it wasn't that long ago.
And no, it wasn't. And now, they did a cut to the debate between Trump and Biden, and they're just like bickering like children.
Yep.
And think back to McCain saying, "No, ma'am." President Obama is a very decent man.
Not going to happen anymore.
Probably not.
No, it's never going to happen. So why do people buy into the hatred? Do they feel powerful because they support the most hateful person?
Well, I mean, if you were trying to get to someone's soul, would you appeal to their love or would you appeal to their hatred?
Oh, God. It's so sad to think that I would appeal to their hatred. Oh God, why?
I mean, you take a simple like an NFL game, right? So let's just say that the Rams are playing the 49ers.
Sure.
In Santa Clara, and invariably at the end of the story, you'll read about how many people were sent to the hospital because they were rooting for the wrong team. So it doesn't even have to be anything that's of any importance.
This is true.
Well, Philadelphia is very famous for that. They're notorious for that.
Yeah.
I mean, why you would wear somebody else's jersey to a Philadelphia Eagles game, I will never understand. Why would you even do that?
It's naivete. You think, they can't possibly be that bad.
Well,
I took my kids to Chicago when they were quite young. And we were riding the L from the north side down to Comiskey to see the Twins play, and they were so the L was packed with White Sox fans, and my youngest son, he was probably like 6. Sam was like 6 or 7 at the time. He had a Twins cap on, and so the people, the Chicago fans, they were all coming up to my son and asking his name, and someone gave him a White Sox cap. It was the friendliest crowd you've ever seen. And that's one thing I always did like about Chicago. It was a game to these people.
It was, yes.
And I don't know what it's like so much now because I haven't been to, I was in Wrigley, I don't know, maybe 50. I used to see a lot of games at Wrigley because I lived in Chicago, but it was still, it was a fun day at the ballpark. And that you don't see it quite so well now. If you watch any Twins game, for example, just as an example, and you're always going to get that center field shot.
Yes.
And you're going to see the people who paid $150 for the box seat. They're all on the phone.
You're right. Boy, I tell you what, I took a walk in the building this morning because it was raining when I got here.
Mm.
I would say 90% of the people, when they're walking, are looking at their phone.
Yeah.
What is so important on your phone that you can't wait till you get to your desk to look at it?
Well, people don't want to be a part of
No, they don't.
The culture anymore. That is the culture now.
You know, what's so funny about what you just said, Mike, is that last year, Catherine and I were in Florida for the opener between Miami and your Minnesota Twins, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we hopped on the Bright Line, the train to go down to Miami from West Palm Beach. And there were a bunch of guys in our car, very, very pleasant, just really having a great time. We're laughing, we're joking. It was about, because it stopped in a couple of different, like Fort Lauderdale, it stopped. Then it stopped here, in northern Miami. Then by the time we got to the station, it stopped for like 2 or 3 different times.
Mm-hmm.
We went to the game, and it was just this very pleasant, wonderful ride down there. We're laughing and joking and blah, blah, blah. Game's over. We hop back on the train. The same guys are in the same compartment we are, treating us like shit.
Well, what do you think the difference was?
Yeah, what was the difference? Does it have to do with the score and scoring some booze?
I'd say the booze thing, yes.
We literally had to get up and move. They were such pricks.
I like the fact that you can buy tickets to a Twins game and sit in the no alcohol section.
Yeah, you can. You can sit in a no alcohol
which probably is a very small section.
Probably 2-3 chairs.
Yeah, I would guess so.
That's probably about. But I'll never forget that. Couldn't have been nicer. But the Twins beat them, and they were having some alcohol. They were unbearable on the way back.
It's interesting that, I think it was Rutgers University they may still have, they had like an institute for alcohol studies or something. And what they did was they observed people who were inebriated from different countries, different cultures, and they found out that when people get drunk, they act exactly the way they're expected to act.
Really?
Yeah. So they might be docile and friendly.
Yeah.
They might want to fight you. They might want to sing Danny Boy.
Yep. That's why one of my favorite ever studies was it was a bunch of college students, and they were like, okay, we're going to test the effects of alcohol on college students. So we're going to give you kegs of beer, and you're going to drink as much as you want, and we're just going to observe you and write down your behavior. And the kids were like, hell yeah. So they all drank a ton of beer and got super drunk. And, by the end of the day, they couldn't even stand up anymore. And then the researcher said, okay, well, we got a lot of good data, especially considering that was non-alcoholic beer.
Oh, my God. That's wonderful. So they talked themselves into being drunk.
They believed they were drunk, so they got drunk.
That's wonderful.
There's a lot of suggestive behavior going on.
There's absolutely a lot. Yeah. When it comes to any intoxicant, really, I would say 75% of it is mental. It's psychosomatic. You believe it's going to happen, so it does happen.
Well, an interesting take on that is, I won't give his name, obviously, because he's no longer with us, and I'm still a friend of his son, but I had a friend when I'd go to his house, and his father would start drinking. He would always, every time, start crying. So I don't know what that was all about.
Irish?
Maybe. You might be right about that.
There's the Danny Boy thing.
Danny Boy thing. That's what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, he would have a couple of drinks or 3-4 drinks, whatever the hell he had, and he would tear up.
Yeah.
It was just.
I mean, emotional incontinence is definitely one of the few things that is universal when it comes to alcohol, I would say.
Yeah. I suppose that is true. So.
And everybody drinks now. Remember when we were younger, we'd always hear the old Jews talking about the shickers. Remember that?
The shickers, absolutely.
Those were the non-Jews who liked to get drunk. And I would say it wasn't that long ago, maybe 10 years ago, I had a guy who living across the street from me who identified as a rabbi. I have to put it that way.
Identified as a rabbi.
Because you don't need
carry
like
through?
a congregation or anything to be a rabbi.
Yeah, is there like a certification program, or how does that work?
Well, there is, but with the Orthodox Jews, a lot of the guys just call themselves rabbis because that way you can sit around all day at the shul and you can read the Torah, right?
Mm-hmm.
I said to this guy, he had a subsense of humor, and he talked about reading the Torah and how you just read it all year long and then you start over again. It's like painting the Golden Gate Bridge.
The Torah is not that long.
No, it's just 5 books. Yeah.
So I mean, you can probably get through it in a couple weeks.
Yeah, I would say so. And that's what I said to the guy. I said, don't you think you're maybe reading more into this than there really is?
Well, yeah, it's everybody's take on what it says. You're absolutely right.
That's true.
But this guy, he'd have me over for like the Sabbath dinner occasionally. I don't know why. Obviously, I'm a heretic, and I was never going to wind up, in any part of any religion. But he was a nice guy. And unless we talked about things like, why he hates homosexuals, and then could get a little ugly. And so he, but the thing is, they what shocked me was he'd have a bunch of younger guys from the shul over, and they'd always wind up passing around the whiskey bottle, and it just shocked me because I wasn't familiar with that kind of behavior.
You're 100% right. In my neighborhood, well, I don't want to say whose dad it was, but it might have been Sid's. So in any case,
yeah,
I mean that was.
So you're saying it's always been there, but maybe now it's just more out in the open.
I think so. Well, yeah, I don't mean this to be negative in any way, shape, or form, because Chad and I are still very good friends.
Sure,
Chad Hartman. But Sid went through periods where his father embarrassed that family on a daily basis because he drank so much. I mean, for a Jew to drink that much was really unusual.
That's probably how he fell in with Kid Can.
I would guess that's probably true.
Well, to be fair, I mean, fighting in the Revolutionary War probably was very traumatizing.
Yeah, that's true. And that was the only anesthetic you had.
That was it.
When they were sawing off your leg, you might like a little whiskey.
Bite down on the bullet and drink as much whiskey as you want.
Yeah.
That's probably true. No question about it. But
let's see. Alcohol consumption by age bracket. I wonder. It'll be interesting because I think of alcohol use as something. I mean, like, of course, like college students. But then I feel like 30-year-olds might drink less than they used to.
I think you're right. I think you're right about that.
Well, you take the Lewis and Clark expedition. What's the first thing they do? The first commodity they secure for the people on the expedition is alcohol.
It was alcohol. That's right.
It purifies water. It anesthetizes. It's a disinfectant. It's useful stuff, I suppose.
And it's not easy, to be seducing those women from the Dakota tribe.
Oh,
and it's not against the Indians at all, by the way.
No, not at all.
There was friction there, is what I'm saying, and not the kind of friction that usually comes when people. Never mind. I'm digging a hole now. I'll never dig out.
You're never going to get out of it.
No,
that's all there is to it.
But after all, I mean, there was this thing called genocide.
See, it looks like the drinkingest age bracket would be 21 to 25, which is not a surprise.
Oh, still to this day?
I mean, of course it is.
Well, I suppose
21 that's when you start. So yeah, it slowly goes down as you get older. But 65 plus is actually quite low.
Well, I would imagine. Yeah.
Interesting. I suppose a lot of them have to. The doctor said, if you keep drinking, you're going to die. Or the people who did drink a lot made it to 65 and then fell off.
Yeah, maybe.
Fell off this mortal.
Although you always see these stories about the 100-year-old guys and men and women. And, what's the secret? Well, they have their shot of brandy every day.
Every day, yeah.
That's what my grandmother did. She drank, I think she took a shot of scotch every day.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, one shot's probably not going to do anything.
Who took a shot of scotch every day?
My mom's mom.
Really?
Yeah.
I never
for
knew
a while.
that.
She might have stopped in the later years, but yeah,
she lived to be 96, didn't she?
She had a tremor, and she said that was she said that was the easiest and best way to take care of that.
Yeah. For me, it's Ativan for me, but same thing, right?
pretty.
I was trying to picture
Just dissolve one in the other.
my mother Toots taking a shot of whiskey every day. It's like not a chance that ever happened.
But the nice thing is, when you're 95 or 100, you can get really smashed with that little shot of whiskey.
Oh, I'm sure that's true.
The
Yeah.
liver's not working so great
I
anymore.
wouldn't think so.
I suppose that's probably.
It is amazing, though, isn't it? How alcoholics can they can get drunk every single day and make it to 95.
I know. Some of them do. They've got great systems.
Yeah. Usually they're
Yeah, I
peeing
guess
on the
so.
floor by then, but still.
Who
Who isn't?
I was going to say, who doesn't do that by
Yeah.
the time you turn 60?
Yeah.
95, yeah,
It's
things get kind of rough in the 90s.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, it's just not meant to be.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you're really lucky or really unlucky.
Yeah, there's people out there who are still independent when they're 100 years old. I don't know how it happens. I mean, it's 1 in 100,000 people, I'm sure, but
That's Minnesota Man. He's the guy who's hunched over shoveling his walk
Yeah.
during a blizzard when he's 98 years old. No, I don't need any help.
Yep.
Can you help me up?
0.03% of people in America are 100 years or older.
0.03%.
0.03%. So not a whole lot.
Not a lot of
So that'd be
people.
0.0003 times. What's the population? 350 million?
Maybe a little more, but
Something like that.
yeah.
We got about 105,000 centenarians.
Yeah.
105,000? Really?
I mean, it sounds like a big number, but it's in the entire country.
Yeah.
It's not a whole lot.
And those are the unlucky ones.
There are a couple of people that are still alive that fought in World War II.
There's a decent amount, yeah.
Yeah. We got a couple of them.
Yeah, that's the thing about being 100, though. It's, being alive at 100 can mean a lot of different things.
I was around, especially during my dad's 10 years of dementia. I was around a lot of old people.
Mm-hmm.
And it was amazing to me how many people in their let's say mid 80s, would they'd always say the same thing. So it's just human nature. These people weren't weird or anything. I'm sorry I used that word already, but they were, this is just human nature. And they'd say, I ain't giving up my driver's license. If I do that, I'm going to lose my independence.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'd say, well, let's just start with the fact that you're on dialysis 3 days a week.
Yeah.
Okay. You're not really independent. There's nothing wrong with being dependent, but it's okay. But, you're not independent. And of course, that's the whole thing. You get less dependent all the time.
There are also about 100,000 World War II veterans still alive with a median age of 98.
Wait a minute. How many?
100,000.
Really?
Well, at a median age of 98, give it a couple years. There won't be a whole lot left.
That's true.
Yeah, they're going fast.
Let's see. What are your odds of dying in a year at 98?
50-50.
It's probably not far, to be honest. Let's see. Death probability at 98 is 32.5%.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. Honestly, not that far off from 50-50.
No, it really is not. You're absolutely. That's amazing to me, though, that's true.
One thing that's interesting about this table that I have a hard time believing is that at 119, your odds of dying in a year are 90%. And 90% is high, but I mean, 119? Haven't there been like 4 people that old ever?
And those numbers might be a little specious too.
Yeah, well, that's true.
I mean, after
the record
all,
keeping in the mid 1800s wasn't that great.
And right. And when you're 110, are you actually going to believe anyone who says what your age is?
Right.
I mean, I don't even know from year to year, and I'm in my early 70s.
According to this Wikipedia article, there have been 3 119 or older people ever.
I think I've seen them all 3 at the track.
There you have it. I got to run something by you guys that Catherine brought up to me last night, and I didn't believe it, but she was 100% correct. Did you hear what the Hennepin County Board Commissioners did yesterday?
I saw the headline this morning. Didn't have a chance to read it, but it was kind of shocking.
Mike, Andy.
Mm-hmm.
Hennepin County Board Commissioners during a committee meeting Tuesday, advanced a 49% pay raise for themselves.
Of course they did.
The current salary cap for commissioners is $122,000 a year, which it is now $182,000 a year.
Wow.
said it would bring their pay up to the base of what other county executives make.
And you wonder why those park board workers are demanding a pay increase.
It's just unbelievable. What does the average American make? $57,000 a year.
It's not 180,000. I can tell you that.
And it's not even 122,000.
Well, I think the average family income's like about 60,000.
Yeah,
right?
it's around 60 grand.
Yeah, I think you're right.
They're going to make 3 times more than the average person.
Let's see. The
And
average
for what?
family in
And
the
for what?
U.S. median household income is 75,000.
Oh, it is 75.
That doesn't
now. It's up
necessarily
quite a
mean
bit.
family. It's every household, and some
Yeah,
households
that's
have
true.
one person in it, but still. I mean, so 75,000. So they were already making almost double the median household income by themselves,
Mm.
and
now
they
it's
decided
almost-
they needed 50% more.
That's 250% of what the average household makes.
Must be nice to just set your own salary.
Well, I have to admit, I'm not really aware of all the triumphs that have instigated this. So
Yeah,
I might have to read up a little. I
we're
guess.
very worth it, I assure you.
That's not a clear memory for you.
No, not really. Obviously it varies widely from one county to another.
Actually, I think I'm going to call, even though I own the podcast, I think I'm going to call Hubbard and say, hey, look, we're going to have to triple my income, because if the county commissioners did it, I should probably do the same thing. County board commissioners.
Mm-hmm.
Don't you think my end should be triple of what it is now?
Well, at least double, because you're
At least
dealing.
double.
Because if you're working for KSTP, you're representing 2 counties.
That's absolutely Ramsey and Hennepin.
Mm-hmm.
I'm worn out from working so hard. I just saw that. Catherine brought it up to me last night. I said, there's something got to be wrong with that. But I just looked it up and she's 100% correct.
How about the Metro Council? How does that thing work?
What is the Met Council?
Well-
I've never even known what that is.
Well, it was like an unelected group,
Mm-hmm.
as far as I know. It was, and they were the ones who really had to sort of anticipate the future. Like, they were the ones who decided that instead of having like light rail, we should have like 32 lanes and 494.
Yeah,
Very incisive, futurists, you might say.
Yeah, futurists. There you go. Yeah, it just amazes me that, and look, I don't hold it against anybody. You make the best living you can possibly make. I got no problem with any of that stuff. Good for you. But I just don't understand how you can decide how much you should make if you're working for the public.
Well, one thing that we have seen in decline rapidly in my lifetime, and a lot of it, of course, goes to religion and politics together.
Yeah, well, that's true. Yeah.
Is there's no value anymore in humility.
That's very true.
No, you're absolutely right. To be arrogant is a very important thing.
Mhm.
man.
Yeah, and it used to be, that was the one thing you think you can maybe, like, I grew up in the 50s and 60s, and I had a very close friend whose dad was a Methodist minister,
Mm-hmm.
and most humble person I've ever known. He was not,
Right,
he wasn't
right.
there for himself. And now you're seeing religion being taken over by people who don't even know what humility is.
No, you're absolutely right. They have no idea what humility and why. What were they taught that brought them to that decision?
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't know.
I mean, because as your child, you pay attention to at least I did, paid attention to my teachers and what they thought. I thought they were a lot smarter than I was. Turned out they weren't.
I know. I thought the same thing. It's like like I'm 12 years old, 13. I'm thinking, maybe Mrs. Schlichtman, although they were all actually Germans, though.
They were all Germans.
Going to Groveland Park Elementary. Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
all right.
because they were like only like 1 degree away from the settlers of Minnesota,
Well,
Yeah.
that's true. That's true.
and they were all old because this was the post World War II culture in those days, and the teachers who didn't, it was all women, because the guys who taught would go off to war, and so when they came back, there were no jobs for them because all these old women had the jobs, and they kept the jobs unless they got pregnant. They kept them forever, right?
Right.
So it took me, I would say even into my early teens, it took me a while to figure out that they were just, they were average people, right? Brilliant, they usually weren't.
Brilliant. They usually weren't.
I'm
Was a
not
good way
saying
to
they were
put that.
stupid either. I'm just saying that, you found out that there was a lot of things they taught that was, well, I don't know if I want to use the word wrong or stupid or ignorant or just unintelligent.
Mm-hmm.
But it is true. Eventually you realize, why were they doing that? Why were they saying that? Hey, my dad, of course, he grew up he was an elementary school kid in the late 20s. And they thought it'd be really great to teach this left-handed guy how to write right-handed.
Yeah, there you go.
Stuttered until his dying day.
Oh, it does. It causes stuttering. You're absolutely
Yeah.
right. Your brain does not accept it ever.
No.
And isn't that amazing? That fascinated me as a child. It's like, you're telling me that's really true, that it causes you to stutter.
Oh, yeah.
And apparently you can reverse stuttering by going back.
He did not stutter during well, I would say probably from the time he was about 35 to about 75. And then the stuttering came back again.
Oh, it did.
Yeah. So there's some sort of primitive seed that's planted.
Well, I suppose. And you can't get rid of it completely by just going back to your original left-hand writing or right-hand writing?
Well, he did go back to it.
He did, but it still occurred, huh?
Yeah.
That's too bad.
Hey, look, I mean, doctors didn't figure out they were supposed to wash their hands until about 150 years ago.
That's exactly right, too. You're absolutely right.
And we talk occasionally about the creative clash of cultures. That's the only reason they ever started washing their hands, because, the midwives kind of taught them that in one area, like, you really should boil the water. You should wash your hands, and maybe then we'll cut the rate of infant death down by about 300%.
But so that means that those people never washed their hands when they picked up food to eat it.
Right.
Why wouldn't you want to do that?
I guess it really never occurred to them.
Yeah, it never occurred to you that your hands might be filthy.
Why do you think all those guys during the Civil War lost their limbs?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's true. That is very, very true. No question about it.
Well, germ theory was discovered, like late 1800s?
Yeah, yeah.
So they didn't know that a dirty hand might not be bad for you.
I guess not.
Or might not be good for you, I should say.
I know. I figured it out very young.
Did you?
Which is why I was washing my hands 10 times a day when I was 7.
You start vomiting or something?
And some people would say that's not healthy either. But you know what? Screw them.
What was that called again? There was a name for washing your hands that many times a day, but I can't remember what it was.
Well, these days, we assign some things like germaholic, which is really stupid. It has nothing to do with a holic.
It has nothing to do with
Or we say they're OCD.
OCD,
when it is a form of OCD.
Yeah. Yeah, I suppose, that maybe that's what I'm thinking of.
It's basically about shame when you come right down to it.
It is. As we're talking, I'm going through the headlines today. Boy, it's not a lot of positive news in the old news this morning.
No.
Shakopee man acquitted of $412,000 swindle from St. Kate's.
Yeah, I didn't get that one.
It's like, what? Well, a Shakopee man acquitted of $400,000. So they acquitted him, so he didn't do it, according to them. A jury acquitted a Shakopee man of all charges after he was accused of swindling more than $400,000 from St. Catherine University. Juan Ramon Bruce, 57, had been in Ramsey County Jail since the case was filed on May 13th. So he's been in jail for 90 days. Nearly 90 days. When jurors found him not guilty in all 6 counts of theft by swindling, he was initially charged with helping his former girlfriend, Laura Jean Farrow, 55, of steal money from the private university from 2020 until last summer. He had done the work he was hired to do, Bruce's defense attorney, Deborah Hillstrom, told the Star Tribune on Wednesday. There was no crime committed here, and if there was one, he didn't commit it. So how did he get charged with the crime in the first place?
Well, because according to from what I read, basically he was he was part of a conspiracy, but he didn't know about it.
Oh, he didn't know it was a conspiracy.
No, he didn't. No, he just thought he was, the guy's basically just working with numbers, right?
Right.
So he's just doing that. He's not thinking the big picture. And I guess that's how he got acquitted.
Boy, there's not a lot of good news in the news this morning. I'll be honest with you.
At least it's not as bad as the fleece our future people.
Fleecing our future.
That was a great one.
God, what was that again? What was it? Feeding our future? Feeding our future. And it was fleecing our future. Yes, exactly.
It was only feeding the future of a few people.
And that money was never recovered, was it?
Maybe some, but a lot wasn't.
They don't ever recover all the money.
No, they never do. You're absolutely right.
They recover some because typically a guy's got like 4 Lamborghinis.
Yeah, that'll do it. Why would you do that? To steal a bunch of money and then show off how much money you have?
Well,
that's not very smart.
No, but we know that for every really smart criminal, there's about 100 not so smart ones.
Well, yeah, 100 to 1. We'll take that rate. No question. No doubt about it. So anything else of great importance in life today that we should know about? I got no one to vote for any office ever again. I cannot be a Republican. I cannot be a Democrat. I just can't be any of these. I don't like our system at all.
And to top it all off, Twins didn't make one significant trade.
They did not. Okay, let's talk about that. I'm glad you brought that up. Why is it, and I have noticed this in my life, that the third generation of a very wealthy family pinches pennies more than the previous 2 generations ever did? Why do they do that?
Well, at one time, if you're talking about team owners, there was a time when those people could buy and sell a team for like $50,000.
That's very true.
And now it's like $6 billion.
Mm-hmm.
So there is a difference there.
Well, I'll give you an example of that. This is very, very true. It had never happened, and I don't know if it was ever really even serious, but there's a very wealthy guy in town that asked me, and his first name was Rick. Let me just say that. I won't give his whole name.
Mm-hmm.
But we were out with our wives, just kind of hanging out and have a little dinner and all the rest of it, and he seriously asked me if I had any interest in going in with him to buy the Minnesota Twins for $35 million.
Mm-hmm.
Remember when they were for sale for $35 million?
Sure, yeah. Well,
can you imagine if I had the dough to pile together and go in and get maybe even a third of that? I'd be a billionaire now.
Yeah, it's one of the better investments. It's like really, buying Coca-Cola in 1912.
Yeah, exactly. When they still had cocaine in it.
Yeah, yeah.
But I look back at that now as how much money that seemed like back in the day, $35 million. And I think he wanted to do 25 and have me kick in 10 million or something.
Oh.
And I thought, Jesus, I mean, you talk about laying it on the line, all the rest of it. But look at what that would have done. I literally would be a billionaire today from a $10 million investment.
Yeah.
Am I that stupid?
I guess we all are, except for the few members of the country club who get in on these deals.
Well, let me make it very clear. I would have had to borrow most of that $10 million to get it done.
These guys are pretty smart. They're not selling their teams to hedge funds.
No, they are not. That's interesting you bring that up because hedge funds are destroying everything as far as I can see. Am I wrong?
Total evil.
It seems to be.
They've turned the whole thing upside down. They've turned the economy upside down.
They have turned the economy upside down. So what is the whole idea behind it? So is it just a bunch of people get together, they develop a fund, and they just try to buy? Well, I mean, didn't Red Lobster just went through that, didn't they? That the hedge fund decided they were going to shut down.
Well, they're the ones who decided they were going to have the big deals, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they didn't.
All the lobster you can eat. Oops, that's all the lobster you can eat. Sorry.
I think it was shrimp, not lobster.
Yes, it was shrimp.
It was shrimp. Yes.
Yeah. If it was really shrimp. Because you don't know what you're getting anyway when you're buying seafood.
Well, the one thing you gotta be very, very clear about is it really crab?
Yeah, crab, right? Well, yeah, that it was, and the answer was almost always no.
Yeah, pretty much true.
Yeah,
no question about that. But you look at all those things in life.
Mm.
Now, I don't know if I would have ever been able to raise that much money anyway. So I mean, I don't even have to worry about that.
Yeah,
but think of if I had actually been able to pull that off. That, my God. I mean, how much are Twins worth now? It's got to be, what, $3 billion? Something like that?
Oh, I would guess so.
I would think that's worth that much.
They never go down in price.
No, God, no. They never go down in
price. $1.46 billion.
That's apparently all? So I would have only been worth $500 million? Damn it.
Basically nothing.
Well, that's today.
Yeah, that's today. That's
but it'd be
true.
2 billion soon.
Yeah, I suppose that is true.
Yeah, it will. I've got a graph here of their value, and yes, it will be not very long.
Now,
Not
how
very
much would
long.
it take to buy the Dallas Cowboys?
Oh God, 4 billion.
No, like
way
3
more than
times that.
9.2.
9.2 billion.
Yeah.
That's
God, I didn't even
a lot of
think
money.
about that. Yeah, it is a lot of money.
And the interesting thing is that as recently as 2010, no, not, let's see, let's go back to 2005, they were worth 1 billion. So less than 20 years, they
Really?
have gone from 1 billion to 9.
To 9 billion.
There are certain things, they're always going to go up in value. Like I've been reading lately about how Americans are turning away from McDonald's. The McDonald's stock is gone. Buy it. I know nothing at all about the stock market. I'd be the last person to give you intelligent advice.
Right.
But all I know is that I just don't see McDonald's ever going through bankruptcy.
No, I don't either.
Maybe in like 100 years.
Well,
or
yeah,
something,
yeah.
But yeah, no,
But
it's going to be a while.
apparently their earnings in Japan have gone down.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, why would anyone in Japan?
Well, that's true.
I don't know.
McDonald's is surprisingly popular in Japan, actually.
Yes. That's why they're sort of panicking about things. The profits going down in Japan. Well, pretty much most countries it's a success.
No, it is absolutely.
Yeah.
Andy, how much did Glenn Taylor buy the Timberwolves for all those years ago? Somebody was telling me it was right around 40 million or something like that, 45 million.
94.
94 million.
Yes.
A bargain anyway.
And now it's worth how much?
The Timberwolves, I wonder.
Probably 3 billion, maybe. Something like that.
Got a pretty good TV deal.
2.5.
2.5. So yeah, 2.5.
So hey, it's a pretty good ROI, I would say.
Return on investment looks really good, as a matter of fact.
All you need is $94 million in seed money, and you're off.
And that was all from wedding invitations. Is that what I'm told? Everybody tells me that Glenn Taylor made all his money from printing wedding.
Printing, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, he owned like a printing press or something.
Yeah, started out printing invitations. He ended up printing money.
That's not bad. You're going to go with that joke again later on today?
Well, rest of my life.
Rest of your life, you're going to be doing
if
it.
You got something. That reminds me, before we go, Royce had a column about Town Ball.
Mm-hmm. He loves Town Ball.
Yeah,
always has.
And I wrote stories about Town Ball.
I
too.
remember you did. Yep.
And because it's such a charming thing,
St. Cloud, the rocks, right? Or wasn't it the rocks?
I can't remember it.
Granite.
But it was
Granite
teams
City
like
Rocks,
teams like Meesville and Jordan.
Oh, Meesville is huge.
Yeah. And so he had a column about it, and this is the part that really was a great relief to me. So he was talking to a Town Ball guy, and there were a couple of references to a story I wrote about Town Ball many years ago.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah. That's nice.
And the thing that I really appreciated was they did not refer to me as the late Mike Gelfand.
Well, that's good.
I know.
I'm glad to hear that.
It's like, because I relate to you here where people were saying, because you quit one job, you were retiring, right?
No, I got fired. I didn't quit.
No, but remember the stories would say, oh yeah, he retired.
Oh yeah, they always say he retired. Yeah, absolutely.
So I just like knowing that I'm still alive, even though I'm not in the journalism business.
Oh,
anymore.
most people. Matter of fact, I ran into 2 listeners last night that listened to this podcast,
mm-hmm.
and they said, "So how's your retirement going?" And I said, "I never did retire. I got
still
fired."
at it. Still at it.
Well, because I keep telling everybody I retired.
Mm-hmm.
Not many people hear it because they only have a 1 share now. But other than that, I had to be a prick there. Sorry, but I just had to be.
I liked it.
All right. So, any closing words?
God help us all.
That's a good way to close.
And I'm an agnostic.
You are. There's no question. Andy, closing?
I don't think so. No.
All right. Works for me. We will talk to you tomorrow.
Bye.
Every time I hear the singing reminds me how you talk in my